That's very good.
Welcome. Welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome, Mary and Vesselina, Michael, Ed, Mark, Ian, Cassie, Zach, BJ, Spencer, Jay, and those who are unwilling to coming out. Anyway, I wanted to start with a reading from Nisargadatta. And I had hoped that Ian and I would have the same books, because I think he could do a good job of reading. It's kind of distracting to have me do the reading and then go back into, it's just, I've had difficulty doing it. So let me see here. I'm going to read. Chapter 9. That's not going to work. So long as the life force is there, whether in a fit working condition or not, whether well or unwell, the body is alive. But once the life force leaves, the person is dead. Therefore, everything depends on the life force. Would anyone like to ask some questions? Who is eligible to ask questions? It is that one who has made deep friendship with this life force and this consciousness, who realizes the importance of the life force to the extent that he loves the life force as himself and not his identification with the body. Someone who has this love and has not identified himself with the body, he has conquered everything. And such a person only is eligible to ask questions. The union with this life force is in no way different from the love for the life force, the companionship with the life force. That is, this unity is love. Life force, love, and consciousness are all one in essence. By all means, use your body to work in the world, but understand what it is. The body is only an instrument to be used. You are not the body. You are the everlasting, timeless, spaceless principle which gives sentience to this body. This is the most secret but the simplest principle as far as spiritual knowledge is concerned. A little more. Actually, we should stop there. This is, he's talking about, is essentially the experience I had 10 years ago. I felt that energy, that light, that power arising in me, as well as great love when I recognized it was God, and surrender. And at the same time, I realized this God and I were one. That God had more power than I, but we were the same thing, life force. And I was conscious of it. I was aware of it, and he was aware of me. and I loved his companionship. At that time, the life force presented himself to me as a male figure because of the power. Later, it would take many different forms and genders. But this, what he just articulated, was my experience. And he said, someone who has this experience has mastered everything. And by that he means everything in the mundane world. He alone can ask questions about life or death because he's transcended the body and identifies with the life force, loves the life force, and the life force loves him, and they are bound in love. And it's with this love that I love all of you, because I see you as instantiations, as incarnations of the life force. But Nisargadatta goes much, much further than this. But right now, I just want to stick with this. I love you. Zach, tell your significant other to come back, and I won't call her an anus anymore.
I tried telling her that, but I don't know if she's going to believe it. But she started a new job, so that's why she's not here.
She quit
She didn't make the cut.
spirituality.
She didn't make the cut.
Now, Ian, weren't those powerful words?
I think I'm sitting on them.
You're sitting on them.
You want this?
No, he was asking you.
The words that I read.
Oh, what do I think about them? Yeah.
How do they, not how do you think about them, how do they affect you?
It's so good to be stupid. I'm so good at it. That's just what it just is. What it is. It's.
How did it affect you?
Yes, that's what I'm getting to. Excuse my mellifluosity.
Mellifluosity means bullshittingness, right?
That's right. Yes.
How did it impact you?
Well, I'll tell you honestly, the difference is Maharaj affects me, and he instills something. He gives me something extremely deep without any words. So you giving me the words was nice and correct and true, but it wasn't what happened. What happened was I had a connection with Maharaj. And as you know, there's no words in that. So yes, and this is what happens to me when I read him these days. It just, the words, I've read him so much, the words are the words are the words are the words, but it's the connection and the continued strengthening of that relationship. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. It's been very helpful. Mary, how did they impact you?
Well, if I can just explain the feeling, the
What?
can explain it in a feeling like of what happened when you were reading it. I was just filled with a power, and it's still happening at this moment. It's like a power surge, and I felt it deeply, deeply, deeply in the gut, and it's just rising like a surge of heat up to my head, and I'm just pulsating, and it's clear.
Did anybody else have a strong reaction?
Yeah, I did. As often happens when you read, when you speak, it's almost like you were talking specifically to me, because as soon as I closed my eyes and listened to what you were saying, my life force was like, I thought was really strong and really palpable. And everything you were saying was so evidently true, because I could feel my life force so strongly. And it's as if you were making a very subtle, or Maharaj is making a very subtle thing. He says, yeah, you can feel your body, mind, you can feel your life force. The life force is really like, that's your base. That's your true identity. So for me, it was profound because my life force was so strong to begin with. And it's as if you were highlighting. It's as if when you talked about the life force, my life force lit up like yes, like by a highlighter. And it was super clear. Thank you.
Jay, did it impact you?
Absolutely. I think Mark said it very well. Ian said it very well. I mean, again, I felt a surge, as Mary described. It sort of goes texturally from the bottom of my feet up through my body, through my heart, through my head and out my head. It just, I can't add anything to his words or your reading of it, because his words are so powerful. Going beyond the fact that they're words, but the words resonate with us so deeply. I'm reading that again. I think I just maybe it feels like reading it for the first time, because of everything that you've shared with us about the power of Nisargadatta and his profound enlightenment. And I just, yes, I felt an extraordinary surge, very deep. And I'm going deeper in every satsang in a way that I just allow it to flow over me and through me in waves. It just gets deeper.
Okay. I'm going to read the next section, the next page. I got to light up this thing, because otherwise, at the end, it comes time to pick images. There we go. Words are used only as a means of communication at any particular moment. Time, space, whatever objects in the manifestation, are they not there because of the same principle? Manifestation is possible only if the life force is there. Then only is it sensorially perceptible. If the life force is not there, as far as that particular individual is concerned, there is no manifestation. There is no earth. There is no love. There's nothing. The concepts we have carefully accumulated over a period of time will be useless. It is this life force conscious presence without any form, which has been called God in various names. We have to repeat the fact to ourselves that I am not the body, but the life force and the consciousness. That is my nature. In order to know that, one does not have to practice anything. It is there as an innate fact. Only after this consciousness has come upon me, I am aware of various kinds of needs and wishes and ambitions, happiness and unhappiness, pain and lack of pain. Everything is only subsequent to the appearance of this consciousness. Before that, there was nothing. There was nothing. If one travels the world, one must have all kinds of knowledge to make that travel pleasant and successful. But if one is not a traveler, but merely a witness of that travel that takes place, why do I need knowledge of any kind? The physical construct which has been created as a protection for the life force, one that accepts that as oneself. One accepts the life force as oneself. That is the whole difficulty. Knowledge in the world is helpful only to the traveler. If there is any unworldly knowledge, it must be of one's true nature. Coming to the theoretical knowledge that I am Brahman is possible only if one would stick to the much easier and simpler practice of making friendship with this life force itself. In saying I am the life force, progress would be much faster. Again, who had any strong reaction to that?
For me, the key point for me was that although although awareness and the body mind appears, although the body mind and awareness appears on the life force, do not confuse the two. They are totally different. The body mind is not your real identity. It is within your life force. It is connected to it, but it is separate. The life force is the seat of the self, which is beingness. Yeah. That's what I got out of it.
That's your interpretation. But what's the effect on you?
The effect was to clarify the difference between the body, mind, and the life force, that they're two separate things, and it's very easy to confuse, to meld the two together. But one should, I don't know, like it's
You're saying the same thing over again.
I know. It was
But
one.
what impact did it have on you?
It highlighted the life force by itself without any adulterations.
But did it
Go back and
impact
forth.
you? Did it impact you?
Not as much as the first one did, but it was more subtle.
Mary, what impact did it have on you?
Again, it's just this surge of power. At some points I was like aware, but I don't know, I can't really explain it.
What impact did it have on you? Not the understanding, the impact. Did you feel at home?
Oh, definitely,
That was an impact.
definitely.
You felt like you were hearing about your own true
Yeah.
self.
Exactly, and when you did the first paragraph, that's exactly it. I just felt at home. I just was smiling because you were just explaining you were just explaining home for me. That's
What about when he said, knowledge is necessary only for the traveler, but if you're the witness, no knowledge at all is necessary for you. Knowledge is useless. And by that he means mundane experiential knowledge, even of the divine. How did you feel about that?
I'm lost in my head.
Yeah, that's possible because he's saying,
Now I'm lost in my head now with
it's all right.
word.
Basically, he's saying knowledge is only really necessary if you're stuck in the mundane world.
Right.
Once you realize the life force or God,
That's right.
you become that consciousness in the life force which witnesses everything. And conventional knowledge is useless.
Right.
Useless.
Right.
So that all flees you and you become lost in your head because there's nothing there.
Right.
No words come to mind. Anybody else have a strong reaction? I know not for you, Michael, because you think you realize everything Nisargadatta had to say a long time ago. But until it moves you and blows you up, you haven't really understood Nisargadatta. It has to shake you, pound you apart, break your head, break your back, break all your concepts, and rush through you like God tearing through you, ripping away all of the past that you have, leaving you naked before God. Ian, did you feel anything the second time? Or did you just disappear?
I felt more energy. I felt more and more energy. I felt the energy. It's like my chest is a barrel which is emanating energy. That's how it feels. And if I want to get technical, I suppose it's the heart, but it's just like the whole thing is an emanation of energy. Yeah. I can't really talk about the detail, even though I could. I don't want to talk about the details of what he said. It's an energetic experience. Yeah.
Just so. Just so.
I like the
So-
second one.
You like the second one.
I like the second one.
What did you feel? First time and second one. What did you feel each time?
The first one, I can't remember that well. It didn't affect me that much. But the second one, I got this remembrance of nothingness. And then from nothingness, I come alive. And from the perspective of nothingness, is the aliveness is not necessary. But from the perspective of the life force, it's very enjoyable. So, yeah, there was this, even there was this dance between nothingness and being alive.
What's the identity? Is there an identity? Or is there a really strong differentiation?
The identity is that which is aware of both and also the transition between them.
Stevie, how did the words affect you?
Resonation. It's kind of similar to what Mary said, like a surge. It feels a bit like excitement, but it's slightly different. But it's an upward, ascending surge from the gut area, and then just feel like resonation. Like
If you repeat the word 30 times, will it become more meaningful?
Not at all, but maybe it'll resonate more.
Okay. Can you change the word from resignation? I don't know what that means for you. The feeling aspect of what it means.
It just sort of means what you were reading created some kind of noise, sound that my spirit recognized and tuned itself to, sort of. It's like a harmony. I'm using sound as a as a metaphor, but
Cassie, what say you?
It's just isness.
It's just what?
Isness.
What is just isness?
The energy.
And what does that do for you?
Scares me a bit. I love it. It's not personal.
Does this remind you at all of the Nisargadatta from reading I Am That?
No, it's different.
Yes, it's very different.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's an introduction to Nisargadatta for those who don't know him and for those who do. The book itself was written by Robert Powell, who was employed at the University of Southern California, or is it California State University, La Jolla, as a content editor in some department. I forget what it was. I talked to him on the phone a few times. And he asked me, how is it that Gene Dunn's quotations of him, of the Satsang, is so very short? Sometimes a page, sometimes less. Because Nisargadatta used to talk for long periods at a time, up to an hour or more. And Jean Dunn, for every satsang, would only give maybe 1 or 2 paragraphs, maybe 3 or 4 pages from one of her books, like, well, whatever, Seeds of Consciousness or Consciousness in the Absolute. And there is something about going back and reading Jean Dunn, that her books do seem incomplete by leaving out the context and just hitting the high points. And reading Robert Powell, who had a good mind, he was able to see the gaps and inconsistencies that are created by going from Marathi to English. And being a good editor, he was able to create a more complete context, which so much helps understanding what Nisargadatta says, even though even in this book, he has Nisargadatta contradicting himself in how he uses terms. But within the context that he's talking about, it's completely logical and is very forceful in using words to pound home what hundreds or thousands of hours of meditation may not, by supplying a completely different context for your conceptual existence than you have up until the time you've encountered him. There's a lot of tediousness encountered in reading Maharaj because he's so detailed in describing all of the Sanskrit terms and how they fit together. And you have to spend some time in learning the code and extracting the meat of what he has to say. And also, it depends on your own spiritual development and maturity, whether what he says makes any sense to you or at all or not, or whether they're just words. Now, Robert Adams never made any sense to me because he didn't have a coherent system of presentation. He would just counterpoise, you don't exist. Your body is illusory. The world is like a mirage. And at the same time say, you are Brahman, without giving you any understanding of how these concepts fit together. Nisargadatta gives you something to chew on. And he has these powerful words and concepts that pound your mind into submission. I remember first reading pointers from Nisargadatta in 1985. And I could only proceed half a page at a time because my mind kept getting pounded into startledness. Now I knew today that Mary would fully understand what Nisargadatta was talking about. I knew that Mark would. I thought Ian might. thought Cassie might. I thought Stevie might. But who really got it? Mary. Because she just had that experience that I read the first reading about. Losing identification with your body and really identifying yourself with the life force. But in that initial experience of feeling the life force, devoting yourself to the life force, you really don't know it's separate from the body. But later on, that knowledge at least came to me. And I felt the life force in me as this huge, huge energy movement combined with light and love. And my body was not even a consideration then. All that there was the life force and God and consciousness. And me bowing in surrender to the magnificence of the experience of finding God within, so to speak. But there really was no within. There was only God and me. Later on, the words of Nisargadatta, that you're not the body, made more sense. And even more so was reading about the awakening experience of Ramana Maharshi, when he said he became aware of a throbbingness inside of him, which he called the I. And from that point onward, he was aware he was not the body, but he was spirit, or life force, or consciousness. And he spent many years writing about it. Actually, not writing about it, but people copying his words. As other people would give him books to read, the various Gitas and so forth. And he says, oh yeah, that's it, that's it. So gradually his philosophy, totality of it, arose not out of his original experience, but out of reading books and finding some that resonated his own experience, and which he could then have people copy as his teachings. Nisargadatta was different though. He followed his teacher's words. You are not your body. Then he threw in a phrase that Robert always used. You are Brahman. But I had no idea what Brahman meant. God, universal. That didn't comport with my experience. But if you leave the concept behind, that you're an individual identified with your body, and shift to the new interpretation that your consciousness and life force you escape identification as a person. And you understand the concept that you are that which in the morning becomes awake and the world is created around you. And you can jump from the concept we all have in the mundane world, that we are a small bit of protoplasm born into a great world, terrifying world, scary world. Hey, you guys, who's fighting? You realize that you're the center of the world of existence, of manifest existence. That world you perceive and live in would not exist without you observing it. What a comeuppance. Little you is really the center of the universe. You are powerful beyond anything you've ever known. The whole of manifestation bows to you, for without you, it would not exist. You leave the point of view where you're a body and a mind and an individual lost in a vast world, and take the position where you're the host of the entire shebang. Who are its master. Hey! I had to throw Nisargadatta at little Eddie as he was picking on Radha. That's an aside. Okay, I'm going to once again. Mary, what did you make of that? I just said.
Just complete shutdown of the brain.
How did you feel the shutdown of your brain? What was the experiential act? What was it like, the experience?
Well, for me, it's just this, when I hear it and I recognize it, it's just this ecstatic feeling that just rises and rises, and then when it reaches, it just explodes in the head, and it's like
You mean I blew your brains out?
yeah, it's like it's just,
You're master of the universe. You're creator of the universe.
it's
You're no longer a being in a sentient world, being at the mercy of all kinds of exterior forces. But you're the host of the mansion within which all of that takes place.
I feel the power. I don't know how, it just,
BJ, what did you feel?
First time I felt like you're talking to me from the beginning, and there was surge of that energy feeling all over the body, and quietness. That's my experience.
What about the second reading? When
The
I said
first-
you're not the traveler, you're but a witness.
I felt that
That all knowledge was unnecessary for you.
yes, being the witness, don't need the brain and the mind. Yeah, everything that you're speaking, I felt like you're telling to me that directly. And there is as Stevie said, resonance, or that effect being felt, like there was wetness in the eyes and increasing that misty vibration feeling all over the body.
Good. I just wanted all of you to be impressed by the power of Nisargadatta's words and recognize that that book, which is now on the floor because I threw it at little Eddie, is properly to be worshipped before you open it up to read it. You should bow down to it 3 times. Do pranams so that you have the proper appreciation for what you're about to read. You can't read more than a few paragraphs at a time if you're ready for Nisargadatta. And if you're not ready for Nisargadatta, it's just gibberish. But if you're ready for Nisargadatta, every page will pound your brain and explode your brain, like with Mary. This is a new level of teaching. It's different than anything else. It's different than attending to the I am and immersing in I am. In a sense, those are kindergarten methods of discovering what's going on in you, the I am. But once you have the I am, then you're ready for Nisargadatta to take you the rest of the way.
Ed, may I ask a question?
Sure.
When I am in the experience of Nisargadatta, it's like a flood is going through my village, and everything that has ever been important is being swirled away, and I have this vision of the floodwaters. And then what happens is the idea or concept, can't call it a concept. What comes up is that you are being carried, you are being looked after. Just get out of the way, forget about the concepts, forget about the point of view. And you brought it up when you talked about Gene Dunn, because I have books of best quotations, which I purchased in the mistaken idea that if I read a book of best quotations of the best masters, that would somehow help me. So it brings up this idea of hierarchical knowledge. And yet, as I read, it's saying just let it all, let's let the footers, obviously the feared concept of loss of all perceptual knowledge. But it's becoming more familiar, and I'm becoming more comfortable with it. And as a result of that, I'm able to just pause and allow. And many times yesterday, my mind would just pause and allow. So when you say, you know, this point of view or this writer versus that writer, the only thing that comes up is more floodwater. And it seems to want to gently, and the floodwater is probably a very good analogy, because it gently but persistently and totally removes everything. So that's what happens with me. And it appears that to me at this moment, the only thing that matters is not what he said, but what's happening.
Question?
So my question is that the right, is what's happening right or wrong? Or am I just getting off my head again?
Wouldn't you like to know?
I
That would
would.
give you the security, right? Something to hold on to when the floodwaters are there. Ian, that's what's happening to you. You don't question it. Just let it flow.
Thank you. That's what I thought. Thanks. And yes, I thought it.
No, these intuitions can be put into words. But all the time that I've been teaching here, I've been trying to get the point across that words don't mean much. They're generally prisons, concepts in the mundane world. But once you escape the mundane world by recognizing this conjunction of consciousness and the life force and the love that brings up, you've escaped from that mundane world, because you're no longer of that mundane world. You've been elevated to the divine, which is all that I ever talk about. Now I'm talking about going beyond the divine to the absolute. And when I encountered it with Robert, for 15 years, I just sat in my chair and was caught in emptiness. And Janet brought me out of it. That's a different story. I don't want you guys to be caught in emptiness. That's why I've emphasized the divine so much as a counterbalance to the emptiness. So even when nothingness comes, you still tingle inside from the life force, and you feel the life force. It's a different way of teaching because I'm trying to avoid a pitfall for you that got me.
Ed?
Yeah.
I just want to tell you how much, I mean, I'm just exploding over here. I just want to tell you firstly how much I love you, how at home I feel here.
Oh, what?
How at home I feel. And every single thing you say, my God, every single thing you say. Because I was like 3 years in Zen. So I know exactly what you're saying in this emptiness. And it's so true what you just said, that you you need to the divine, because then you can go into emptiness. But you need the divine. It's like when I was in Zen and I was not able ever to utter a word there when we were asked to share something like how we do here, how you asked us to share. I was never able to open my mouth and offer anything because there was nothing to say. It was just, I remember one time when I was a bit confused whether to stay or leave, I said to everyone there, I'm like, why is there never any talk about love here? Why isn't that word ever uttered here? And when I was guided to you, and that's what I felt from day one, and then you said your story about the Zen master who said there's no love in Zen, and I'm like, that's right. That's why I had to leave. And then I was guided here. And I'm at where I'm at because you catapulted me, and I'm so grateful, and I'm just so bursting with joy and love, and that I want to just,
Give everyone.
yeah, I just wanna leap and physically like hug you and kiss you and just adore you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
You give me so much just by knowing that you've entered the divine and are even yet willing to go beyond it without fearing for the loss of the divine. You take it with you.
I don't fear. I don't fear. I don't fear because I'm just, I don't know. I just know that I don't fear. And then I texted you one time that I don't understand anything. I just understand that I don't understand anything. And I don't fear.
The thing is, it's like your mundane world and all the concepts related to the mundane world has been blown apart. So that means that what you used to use to express anything is gone, leaving you with nothing to say.
Right.
Within your Zen or even now. But there's something growing in you. That's God that's growing within you.
Yes.
Divine,
Yes.
which is gradually teaching you new ways of expression because you're disconnected with the mundane ways.
Yes.
And you're like a little kid, lost in the light of God,
yes.
not knowing what to say.
Yes.
But you'll get it. It's coming already very rapidly. I'm force feeding it too. I'm putting pressure on you to express it. Does anybody else? Oh, Gasolina. Are you a traveler or witness to your journey in medical school?
I'm definitely a traveler.
You know, I was thinking, I know your struggles with remaining in medical school, but unless your mission is very strongly impacted by something going on inside of you, a recognition of an alternative path, like spirituality or becoming a travel agent or a tourist guide, it's better to stay with school until something better comes up. And you might get a doctorate out of it, but you gotta just realize that it entails a lot of studying, a lot of what you consider not valuable, and a lot of waste of time it takes away from you and the cats and you and Michael. But you just realize you can't have everything you want in the mundane world. And just surrender to 2 years of study and quit bitching about it. I was going along with your bitching thinking, well, maybe this is her chance to get out of it. But I want you to become a medical doctor so you can support an ashram over there. And I can come over and you can take care of me with Michael. Of course, we'll have Karima come just because she has to come.
Sure, of course. Very much.
So, Dr. Veselina, I'll see you in 2 years. Anybody else have anything to say? Those I haven't called on. Because you're more or less beginners in this class, and you may have a very different take.
I have a comment.
Zach?
Yeah, so while you're reading, I guess what you call the kindergarten understanding is a little bit more of where my experience is feeling the life force, feeling the, not that I'm feeling the body, but the sensations of the body, feeling that, which I definitely, as you spoke and read, it was like a deepening and anchoring into that, the I am, the beingness. And then one of the quotes you read, it was something about that this life force is beyond the body, and it's not just contained in the body. And when you read that, I almost felt like there was a bleeding over of these sensations of this euphoria, these good feelings is almost like it's not, like I could feel that it's not in my body, like it's almost around my body even. So that was a neat little experience or feeling for me. But it stopped there. I don't feel like expansive Brahman or anything, but I thought I'd share that.
You have prominent incisors. Did you know that?
My teeth?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And is your origin with some vampire tribe?
I'm very, very pale, if that's what you're referring to. Yeah, I
You
must be.
haven't had enough blood lately, huh?
I had some Polish blood. I think they're pretty pale over there. So,
Thank you, Zach.
thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Why don't we have some chanting now and a slow fade and then leave? 5 minutes of chanting, one of the fast chants. Who's going to do it, Mark?
I would prefer Stevie because he's better at it.
Okay. Stevie, you're on.